Nucci, can you pass the mic down to the lieutenant, please? Thank you. And you can start.
Good morning. My name is Lieutenant Laz Ojeda. I'm with the Coral Springs Fire Department. First of all, I want to give God all the glory. I want to echo Miss Wilford's words through her Facebook post, saying that Providence had played a big part in saving Maddy's life. Second of all, I want to thank my department for all the training we've gotten, our fire chief. I want to thank my captain, Captain Puccino, and you'll see that as the story goes, you'll see what a big part he had to play. I didn't do this alone. I was on a rescue with 5 other people. Their names are driver engineer Robert Lubinger, firefighter paramedic Jeffrey Unger, firefighter paramedic Will Glover, and Captain John Puccino. That day started like any other day. We had run some calls, and when the call came in, we were almost dumbfounded. We couldn't believe it. Our station is at the southernmost point of the city. And when the call came in, there was so much going on that we, for some reason, we weren't dispatched right away. Our captain took the initiative of self-dispatching us, putting us on the call. I believe we were the 3rd rescue on scene. And when we got there, I looked at the organized chaos, which is what we firefighters work under, organized chaos. And I actually asked Captain Puccino, I go, Cap, in a few minutes, I'm gonna get a patient, I'm gonna need staffing. And his words to me were, don't worry, Laz, we'll stick together as a crew. At that point, Maddy was brought to us. And I want to digress a little bit, because what happened inside that school, as it was related to me by Will Glover, who saw Officer Fernandez. And Sarge, I'm sorry I missed your last name, I can't pronounce it. But when they were clearing the rooms, at first sight, it was believed that Maddy had deceased. She looked very pale. And at that point, Officer Fernandez shook her to elicit a response from her. And I believe she gasped or she moved, but she made signs of life. At that point, he asked a nearby BSO SWAT officer to come over, and that officer put a chest seal on Maddy. I come to find out after the fact that Maddy had a tension pneumo. And I'm not a doctor, but in my estimation, that chest seal prevented that tension pneumo from progressing and perhaps killing her sooner. I thank that officer. I thank Officer Fernandez for bringing her to her. So back to when I got Maddy on the back of the rescue. When we got Maddy on the back of the rescue, we right away went to work. The officer had put the chest seal. He had also wrapped an emergency bandage around the chest seal. And she had a pretty bad injury to her right elbow, which we dressed right away. We started working on her. She was in what we call decompensated shock. Her blood pressure was very low for us. At that time, driver engineer Lubinger started an IO on her right shoulder. We started infusing fluids. We gave her oxygen. Her oxygen saturation went from the 70s to the hundreds. I want to say something that I thought was, because I also teach EMT at high school, and I'm always stressing how the basic things are more important than some of the advanced procedures we perform. I looked at Maddy, and she didn't look 15, because we had been told to take her to Broward General. Someone said it, I didn't see who said it. 30 miles away from the school, 30 miles, with a patient in decompensated shock. I looked at her, I gave her a sternal rub. I go, hey, how old are you? No response. Second sternal rub, hey, how old are you? She came around. She told me she was 17. So at that point, I looked at Will and I go, Will, we're going to North Broward. It's only 10 miles away. So the rest of the story is pretty simple. We revitalized her in the back. We reanimated her with fluids, gave her oxygen. We came over here and this place was, wow, the hospital. I've never seen so many doctors, so many staff in an ER, because when we got there, we transferred her to the gurney and we gave a report to the nurse and we went back to work. That's all I got for you.
Morning. My name is Dr. Boyer. I'm the medical director for the Department of Emergency Medicine at Broward Health North. Our goal is to take this in a sequence give you guys kind of a timeline of what occurred real time. First and foremost, we're just honored and privileged to be sitting here with Maddy at this table here. So that is the best thing that we could celebrate today, for sure. The logistics of the operation from pre-hospital to hospital care, we implemented what we call a code green when we got the pre-hospital pre-alert that there was going to be potentially mass casualties. So from an operational point of view, when the pre-hospital personnel is doing their due diligence on the scene, from a hospital point of view, we're mobilizing multiple resources. And included in that is we gear up our emergency department in order to care for multiple patients simultaneously. And we got the enormous support of our entire hospital system, multiple surgeons, physicians, administrators, radiology, environmental services, registration, you name it, every single aspect. There's multiple moving parts and we all work synergistically. So then when pre-hospital personnel arrives at our facility, we could determine exactly who's going to care for patients and have it occur in a seamless process. So at that stage, when Maddy was brought to us, her care was put right in the hands of Dr. Nietzsche Parenko, who I'm going to pass the microphone to, so he could discuss with you.
Good morning, everybody. Dr. Nietzsche Parenko, Trauma Medical Director, Broward Health North. I was also a trauma surgeon on call. And when I received code green notification, mass casualty event, I was in the emergency room with my trauma team and with the rest of the hospital personnel. The information that we usually get is very short, but very important. That time we had 3 pediatric patients coming to us with multiple gunshot wounds. One of them was Maddy. What I knew about her was multiple gunshot wounds to the chest, abdomen, and right upper extremity. She was also in hemorrhagic shock. When Maddy came in, she was pale, she was not responsive, she was in shock. Immediately, she had to go chest tube placement because her wounds on her chest were very severe with massive bleeding. Initially, the chest tube was placed, which relieved the tension pneumothorax, which actually saved her life. Massive infusion protocol, something that we start right away on patients in massive hemorrhage, was initiated. Central line catheter was placed. Blood was given. Multiple blood products were given. Fast exam was done at the bedside. It's an ultrasound that will look for any injuries in the chest and abdomen. When we found fluid in her abdomen, she was taken to the operating room within 10 minutes. What we also did is called damage control surgery. We knew that she had multiple injuries to the chest, abdomen, and arm, but we had to prioritize her treatment. So initially she went for expiratory laparotomy, for damage control surgery in her abdomen, which she did extremely well. Her second surgery was damage control in the right upper extremity, bleeding and soft tissue damage. And her third surgery was thoracotomy with ORF of her ribs, which were shattered from gunshot wound. So all those three surgeries were done in the manner of her being completely resuscitated and ready to undergo multiple procedures. As a result, her hospital stay was less than 7 days. She did very well postoperatively, and she was discharged home last Wednesday. All I want to say that because we are trauma center, because we see this type of injuries almost every other day, because we see gunshot wounds, we see penetrating trauma, and because of our experience treating these patients, we did outstanding job, and I'm glad that Maddy and her parents are here at this table to celebrate her successful recovery.
My name is David Wilford. I'm Maddy's dad. I am very grateful to be sitting here next to my daughter, alive and well today. And there's a lot of people to thank for Maddy's life, and 4 of them are in the back of this room right there. These guys from the Coral Springs Police Department and the Broward County Sheriff's Department for pulling her out of that school and saving her life. The people at Broward North again saved her life when she came in here. It's all right, there's a lot of emotions going on, and it's just, it's hard for me to feel anything but gratitude and thanks for the miracle that's happened with her and the way that she's been blessed, and the, you know, the outpouring from the community and all the prayers that people have given us. It's really quite a, it's really been quite an experience, and it really has been a real miracle. And I just have a lot of gratitude and thanks, and I have a lot of sympathy and empathy for her classmates and the other parents whose children were injured and whose children didn't make it. And I'm just grateful to be sitting here next to my daughter. Thanks.
Good morning. I am Missy Cantrell Wilford. I'm Madeline's mother. I too am very grateful to be sitting here today. I'm also John's mom and Jacob's mom and Connor's mom. We have a large family. My heart is so full with gratitude for all those that have helped Madeline, but all the other victims. I see this as, yes, it is a tragedy, but I would like to try to find a way to find the positive in what has happened here in our community. What I feel very strongly about, first and foremost, is the power of prayer. We have had an outpouring from people that we don't know, people that now I consider to be our friends. I may not have met you, but your prayers were felt. Prayers aren't necessarily, you can't see them, but you can feel them. Positive thoughts and all the positive energy, the help that the first responders knew where to bring her to this facility where they had the doctors, Dr. Nietzsche-Parenko and Dr. Merkel, all the staff. Everything from the beginning to the end was really divinely, I'm sorry, I'm trying not to get emotional here, but directed and guided. Those that have sent prayers and little notes and on Facebook, I can't believe she's smiling, I can't believe she's recovering. It's how you feel inside your mind as your drive and your will to want to get better, to overcome something negative like this in the community that's happened and turn it into something positive. I see that in Madeline. I could probably spend an hour talking about my daughter. I am a little biased. She's a fighter. She's a fighter, and she wants to heal and she wants to get better. But I feel that what's helped her the most, and my son as well, who's a freshman at Douglas, he has his own story to share. That it's been her friends, it's been her classmates, it's been those moments where she could feel normal, and that has helped her psychologically heal. I know that there's a lot of resources out in the community that for all the youth and the students that are going to be returning on Wednesday. As a mom, I just have to say to you, do not be afraid to reach out for help if you need it. If you need help, it's okay. It's okay to feel the way that you feel. I know that our son is experiencing a different feeling. Madeline is healing her wounds right now, but will be healing emotionally for a while, as we all will as a community. And we're grateful for the visit from a leader of our church who came and offered a blessing to her from the prayers, and also the president who came. And I have to thank all the Broward County Sheriff's Department. I'm telling you, they were here 24/7. We could not get on the floor. I mean, they were on her watch, 8-hour shifts. They would come in. Sometimes I was afraid I wasn't going to get on the floor. Are they going to let me in? But they did. They were doing their job. And one of the highlights out of this tragedy, I know this may sound silly, but they gave us an escort home. And it wasn't just an escort. They said, we're going to have, a police, escort home. And I thought, one car. And then they show up, and there's 4 on the motorcade, 3 Tahoes. They blocked off the sawgrass. I mean, this was in action, and I've never experienced anything like it. And my, teenage son is in the back seat with me, and we're like, this is like Chips, where all these people are flying by, and we're like, wow, so they really went above and beyond. And one last thing about Madeline, she knows who she is, and she knows where she wants to go and what she wants in life, and that strength and power is what helps you heal. It makes you want to get up. It makes you want to keep going. She's an inspiration to me, and all those that have reached out to us and the doctors and staff, but mainly our friends and family from people that I grew up with, went to college with, people that we don't know across the country, across the world. You have been an inspiration to me. And for those of the moms that I have not been able to visit their children passed, I love you. I'm here for you. Those that are left in the hospital, I will come and visit with you. We have had so many visitors. I just have to say, it helped her mentality. It helped her heal. Thank you to all. Thank you for your time for coming. And I'm thinking that Madeline might like to say a little something, so I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
I'm Maddy Wilford. And I would just like to say that I'm so grateful to be here, and it wouldn't be possible without those officers and first responders and these amazing doctors, and especially all the love that everyone has sent. And I was sitting on my couch today just thinking about all the letters and gifts that everyone has given, and just like all the love that's been passed around. I definitely wouldn't be here without it, and I just want to send my appreciation love out to all of you, and that, like my mom said, it's times like these when I know that we need to stick together, and I've seen a lot of like positive posts about what's been going on at the school, and I just love the fact that we're sticking together at this, and I'm just glad that I'm making a full recovery and everything's been going so smoothly, so that's all I have to say.
Okay, at this point, we're gonna have the family, if they would want to stay, they can stay, or we can escort them out, and then we'll open it up to questions for the first responders and physicians. It's up to you. You wanna head out? Thank you.
Thank you.
So any questions for first response or the physicians who can get more information?
Sorry to you all the way to the right. I'm sorry, I know you last name Laz.
Yes, sir. That's what everybody calls it.
If you would, I mean, this seems just so very personal to you, and it's emotional for you. Can you kind of explain what's behind all that?
In reference to,
Just how personal and emotional this is for you.
well, I have to say that at the time, I wasn't impacted as I am right now, or the following day I was more impacted, if that makes any sense. Just we were all on auto mode. We were just working, and for me, for example, when I saw the way my brothers, some of my brothers and the dispatchers were affected, it affected me also. I have to say that this is also my vocation. I got into this job to help people, so I guess when you really, when you're able to see it through, and it makes it that much better. If that answers your question, sir.
Lieutenant, when Maddy told you that she was just 17 years old, what was going through your mind?
Well, first of all, I was so happy that the AFPU scale worked. That's just a scale that we use to determine responsiveness when the patient is not fully responsive. And I go, wow. You're almost like struck, because she was semi-conscious, like the doc was saying that when she got here, she was responding. And with us, it was the same. So when we were able to elicit a painful response, and she told us she was 17, that made the job easier for us, because this hospital takes 17-year-olds. So
How many times was she shot?
At least 3 times.
At least.
And how long of a period was it between the 3 surgeries that she had?
Within.
Can we have the microphone?
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, guys. Thanks.
Okay, hold it up, please.
3 surgeries, they all been done within 40-hour period.
And where can you say the gunshot? It was her chest, or?
It was her right upper extremity, right chest, and right abdomen.
The decision was made to bring her here. If she had been brought to Broward General, which is much further away, would she have made it?
Well, she kept on bleeding, so the training that we do with our EMS personnel is to grab and run to the nearest trauma facility. That's what we teach them, and that's what they did.
Did that save her life, you think?
Yes, of course.
Dr. Franco, how did her gunshot wounds compare? How did her gunshot wounds compare to gunshot wounds you've seen?
Smaller caliber.
Yeah, from a pistol or handgun.
So there is definitely a blast injury associated with bigger caliber. There's also cavitation effect that we see with bullets going through the soft tissue and vital organs.
What does that mean?
When the bullet travels through the soft tissue, it causes certain waves, shock waves, that destroy tissue adjacent to the bullet tract. So as a result, you see more tissue damage, soft tissue damage, also organ damage.
Does she still have fragments or bullets inside?
Yes,
Doctor, how many bullets was she hit? Was it 3?
at least 3.
Doctor, how lucky is she to be alive?
She's very lucky, very, very lucky, because we're talking about large caliber bullets penetrating through the chest and the abdomen. So those are significant injuries.
What kind of follow-up care does she need? Does she need additional therapy, rehab, surgery?
Not enough. Her chest and abdomen completely healed, but her right upper extremity has 2 tendon damage. So those tendons need to heal in about 4 to 6 weeks before she starts occupational therapy.
Did the bullets hit any vital organs?
Long.
Doctor, do you think she'll, long term, will she be able to play basketball again?
Well, you gotta see how much she does with occupational therapy for the next 6 weeks or so, but I assume so she'll be fine.
Have any of you ever seen combat wounds? And if you have, how does this compare to what you've seen from combat battle wounds?
Not in my experience. I'm a civil trauma surgeon. Never been involved in military, but again, we mainly deal with the small caliber bullets, so this is definitely different.
As you looked to save her, were there any complications or a point at which you thought maybe she wasn't going to turn out well?
No, it was always a positive attitude to treatment, to management, because again, this is what we do at this facility. We're a trauma center and we deal with these injuries.
Can you explain how it's possible that the chest and the abdomen healed so fast after such a traumatic injury?
Her age, young people have a tendency to heal very fast. It's very rewarding to treat pediatric patients because they do very well.
Okay, how was it like seeing her today? The last time you saw her, I'm sure it was very different. And seeing her today, where she's actually smiling, what was that like for you?
Hold on real quick. I actually saw I got a chance to see Maddy last shift. I dropped off a patient in the ER, and Dr. Mina was so nice. She saw me, she recognized me, and actually came up to me and goes, "Laz, do you want to go see her?" And we went up and I saw her. So when I saw her, I felt, I don't know, just the sense of being used. I don't know if that translates, but just being a tool in God's hands, I guess, something like that. That's what it felt like.
What's your reaction when you hear the doctor say she's lucky to be alive?
It's almost like a confirmation of my thought process on scene, and it actually helps me for the next patient. Because when you see somebody in such a decompensated shock state, and you make a determination to bring her to the closest trauma center, and the doctor says that saved her life, it validates the thought process of myself and the crew that was involved in that call.
Lieutenant O'Neill, do you, as an EMS responder, have a protocol that you cannot enter a building when there's an active shooter or shooting going on?
Yes, we thankfully our department has given us a lot of training with active shooters, and usually we don't enter. When we got there, we believed at the time we were in a yellow zone. Usually who goes in is a task force comprised of officers and paramedics. I don't know if that was the case, if they made entry on that call, but I was in the yellow zone, and I was waiting for Maddy, I guess.
Doctor, tell me a little bit about her rehab. What is she likely to be undergoing next? What do you think is the next few months ahead? Describe her rehab.
Well, she has to do occupational therapy for her hand, because where the tendons are damaged, and that's the only thing that she's going to have to do. That's it.
Her mom said something that it was divine that she was still here. Do you think there's any miracle right here, Doctor?
Yeah, I believe in miracles. Yes, I would say so.
Dr. Boyer, what can you say about your department during all this, how it was handled overall? What would you want to say how it was handled by your doctors?
I mean, I would say that it was a seamless process, and the response was kind of mimicked a drill that we had. We recently, maybe 6-9 months ago, had an active shooter drill, which involved pre-hospital personnel and also hospital personnel to gear up for events like this. So when it truly came in, the response of the emergency department was geared up, and we were ready.
Doctor, you worked on a lot of patients, both of you that day. Can you think a little bit through that? I mean, we're focusing on Maddy, I know, and she's lucky to be alive, but you guys saw a lot of people that day, didn't you?
So part of our hospital-wide response is that we're ready to take on multiple patients. So every patient that came into us got the same exact care and treatment that Maddy got, and have all done well. And that's the reason why we do this. Like Dr. Nietzsche-Parenko said, we're a trauma center here. We're prepared to handle these type of injuries. We're prepared to handle multiple patients coming in simultaneously. We mobilize multiple teams in a variety of sections in our department so we can care for them all equally and swiftly.
Were they all as serious as Maddy? I mean, help me understand a little bit about how you guys prioritize and...
So, as I mentioned before, when Maddy came in, we had 3 people, including her, 3 patients in a critical condition. And the assessment is based on type of injuries and on hemodynamic status. So if someone who has multiple gunshot wounds to the torso with low blood pressure, we consider them critical, and the treatment has to start immediately. So we had 3 patients, and all 3 of them were in critical condition. We had to go with 3 patients into the operating rooms within the next 30 to 45 minutes after their arrival.
Well, Lieutenant, I just want to clarify, you had mentioned the importance of trying to establish her age and bringing her here. If she had not responded, what would the course of action have been?
I think we would have taken her to Broward General. So during an MCI, our rules are different, meaning that the amount of patients that exist overwhelm a rescue. So there are multiple facets, if you will. So we had a transportation officer, and he makes that determination. My response was that, and in all honesty, I was so full of adrenaline that I missed that part. So as soon as I've apologized to my chief since then. But once we made the determination that her age was, and like I'll go back to being Providence, because like Doc was saying, perhaps if we would have gone away the 30 miles, she wouldn't have made it. So something made me ask her what her age was. Something made me ask or disregard a faraway voice saying she needs to go to Broward General. And we brought her here, and everything turned out well for her and for her family.
The cutoff age is 17?
The cutoff age here is...
No, we treat at our facility, we treat every patient is 15 and above. 15 and above.
Can I clarify something? Sorry. So as the doctor was saying, the cutoff age here is 15 and above. However, that day those rules went out the window because we were working under MCI rules.
What is that?
Those are rules for transportation based on severity of patients. You take them to whatever hospital is closest or whatever hospital accommodates that patient, usually trauma hospitals. Like I said, my 2 cents or my contribution was that I missed that MCI. I missed the voice in the back telling me, and I went straight with age and patient presentation. which I thought she was in frank shock. I turned, she had entry wounds to her torso. She was only responding to verbal stimuli. So I made the determination, along with my crew, to bring her here and give her the best chance.
Did she say anything else to you? Did she know how bad she was?
No, sir, but we were able to elicit, using the same methodology, we were able to elicit her name. She told us it's Maddy Wilford. We were able to elicit a patient history, medications, and allergies. We were able to elicit also, did she have any complaints? Because with attention pneumo, you're worried about shortness of breath because you're only working on one lung. So when I asked her, is there anything bothering you? Are you short of breath? And she said no to both after painful stimuli, then that would have led us along another route.
Lieutenant, how did, there have been so many school shootings. What was it like for you to have it happen in your community and see these children face to face?
Well, like I said before, initially we were on auto mode, meaning we were just working based on our instincts, on our training. So it didn't hit me until the next, let me correct myself. It didn't hit me until that night, until we were doing our stress debriefing, and I saw other people affected, and then it affected me. And the following day, it also affected me when I was at the gym with my 17-year-old son, and I thought about what a sad state the world is in that this happens, and then that affected me.
Lieutenant, do you speak Spanish by any chance?
Yes, I do.
Could you give us a statement in Spanish?
What is it that you like to?
Oh, we can do it afterwards?
Yes, absolutely.
For the doctors, clearly her recovery is going very well. When do you think Maddy can go back to school?
There's so many of them. I think she's right-handed, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm not sure how much writing she can do, but she can. I expect her to go back to school next week. I really don't see the reason from physical standpoint, from the medical standpoint, for not to go back to school and study.
How impressive of a recovery is that then?
It is very impressive. It is very impressive. Considering the types of injuries, considering the amount of blood loss, considering the amount of blood products that she was given for her resuscitation, the 3 surgeries that she had to undergo, it's amazing.
We're going to take 1 or 2 more questions for the doctors and then
Can you
do some full
describe some
asides.
of the other injuries you saw from other patients?
Other patients had mainly injuries to the torso, chest, abdomen, and a few of them had injuries to the upper and lower extremities.
Okay, last question.
Lieutenant, did you treat other patients? Did you go back for other patients? At this
We went back for other patients, but Maddy was our only patient that day. Because I just finished reviewing our reports, there were, I believe, our department alone transported 13 patients from that scene. I don't know if it was 9 or 10 within the first 10 minutes. Don't quote me on the numbers, it's just a ballpark. So when we picked up, I believe we were 3rd rescue on scene, we picked up Maddy. You guys already know the story. We dropped her off. We went back to the scene, and everything had finished then, so she was our only patient.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. I think that Lieutenant will be available for full asides. I think the doctors have to get back to treating patients, but we thank you for coming.